like to introduce then, our order of speaking is Jacob Harlow from the Century House first, and then Lance Ratz from Yola's, who will be speaking today. These are both retail environments that have used social media differently but effectively to promote their business and align with their business goals. So Jacob's going to speak first about the Century House, and then Lance. About 30 minutes, we'll have question time afterwards, and then when we're done, we'll wrap up around 9:15. And if people want to stay, the store doesn't open until 9:30, and maybe Jacob will offer some great special for you if you want to buy a couch before the store opens. In the meantime, certainly enjoy the most comfortable seating we've ever had at Social Media Breakfast. Jacob.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate everybody coming to this. I really, honestly had no idea that these folks could muster this kind of attendance, so I'm pleasantly surprised, but I'm also pleasantly nervous because this is not my forte, the whole public speaking thing. My name is Jacob Harlow. I am General Manager here at the Century House, and this is our expanded showroom, if you will, here. So this is the newest part of our business in this building here. We actually are a 60-plus-year-old business, started in 1948, just across the intersection over here on the other side of the road in a little stone building over there. The Century House was started as a custom ceramics studio. It was originally it was started by a potter. She was actually a teacher at East High School, an art teacher as well. And the focus was on making ceramics and pottery with a lot of customization. They would make anniversary plates and things for weddings and birthdays and all that sort of thing. So through the 50s, that was sort of going on. A lot of that is considered collectible mid-century pottery made right here in Madison, and we have to buy it back on eBay nowadays if we want to display any. These days we are, and this was a very slow evolution and a very organic growth, but our business grew to include the Scandinavian imports, and that's really been our focus for many decades of importing Scandinavian furnishings directly from Scandinavia, but we have kept a focus on gifts, we have kept a focus on art, so we are basically focused on modern and contemporary as well as Scandinavian everything for the home, and you'll see a lot of that represented here, I think. What I'm intending to talk to you about today is actually a subject that I think is extremely important, but I by no means think that I am an expert on. I, like many of us, am learning as we go and trying to make a go of it. So I thought that I would breeze over some of the specific topics, if you will, that Wendy put forth. I know that Lance is going to get into a little more detail on things like analytics and tracking and that sort of thing, but I want to talk a little bit, if possible here, about the reasons that I think this is such an important topic, specifically when it comes to retail. You know, the me not being an expert thing, I think that we can, you know, it's easy to say, and it's not necessarily a disclaimer, it's just that my focus is on trying to learn more all the time, trying to get better at this all the time. The excuses that I hear from fellow retailers, because I do end up talking to a lot of retailers on a regular basis, all of those excuses apply to me as well, and I had the same doubts, the same fears. I don't have any time either, absolutely none, so making the best of that is certainly a priority, and I'm always trying to figure that out. The tools that we use at this point in time for social media, there's quite a few of them, and honestly, I would like to use every tool out there in one way, shape, or form if I possibly could. we're pretty focused on you know, some of the broader, bigger ones. I think that they're easier to tackle to some degree. So you know, besides things like emails, you know, Google Places, Google AdWords, Facebook, Twitter, we do blogging, we do some video. We're trying to get better at that, and that includes YouTube. Photos are just as important to us. I think those two elements are going to be huge for us going forward because of the simple fact that we're in a visual industry. We're trying to capture people's attention based on design and aesthetics and that sort of thing. So visualization is extremely important. Yelp, I really need help there. I don't know why I can't get more than one review from 6 years ago or whatever it is. Foursquare, we're dabbling in ways to use that for events, especially. That has been kind of fun. And like I say, always trying to learn more about those possible resources. You know, the way that we use our resources for social media here is pretty straightforward. It's me most of the time, but I'm trying to emphasize more and more the necessity of everybody to get on board with this. And for the most part, that's actually gone really well. You know, we're not in a position where we're trying to limit people's Facebook time at work. I actually encourage people to use Facebook at work, which is a little bit different, but in the end, I think that all of our staff, our team here, do have, I guess I just have one team member here, Katie over there. We do, you know, get involved in every which way in practically everything here. Everybody is involved, including the toilet cleaning as well. But the simple fact is that everybody needs to be involved, and I encourage that involvement, and we're working towards that goal of making sure that all of the team is, you know, brand ambassadors, if you will, for our business, and I think that's an important aspect to it. Budget is really non-existent for the most part, but I know that that's growing all the time, and there are ways, obviously, to pay for advertising within social media, and we are doing that and experimenting with that, and I think this can be of big benefit, and we do consider social media to be incorporated into our regular and traditional advertising forms. The commitment, I mean, the resource, of course, that is the biggest is mainly time, and I think that everybody can identify that. But time is a big element to it, but it's also one of those things that, you know, I'm pretty sure that I was doing something that was a waste of time before that anyway. So we can certainly carve that out, if you will. Social media is integrated with our other, you know, media, if you will, by trying harder and harder to actually form this integration and include social media or call outs to our social media wherever possible. So if an email goes out to our user list, if a postcard goes out to our mailing list, if an advertisement goes into a magazine or a newspaper, I try to, as best as possible, make sure that there's something there to let people know that they can also find us on Facebook, they can find us on Twitter, they can reach us in other ways, because as I'll get to, I think that's probably the single biggest benefit from the consumer's perspective, is the ability to directly talk to us. We do, you know, we added into TV ads and that sort of thing. You know, it'll be great as soon as every magazine allows you to just touch the page and connect with us through our Facebook account or whatever. And that's kind of coming because there's a lot of digital formats for these things too, whether it be TV or print or what have you. The subject of what has and has not worked, I think that everything works. I think that everything works. Some things work better than others. I do not think that it is not a requirement on my part to justify every single attempt to use social media. If something works well, we keep using it. If it doesn't have an immediate effect, that doesn't mean it's not working. The most important realization that one has to come to is that all of this takes time. There is no quick fix. I don't believe in it. I don't think that there is one way to just inject your business online into social media and get served up with a bunch of customers and a bunch of business. And I think I'll address that in just a moment a little bit more as well. So that long-term kind of building principle has been really integral to our strategy. I have taken this very, very slow. We've been doing social media for a couple of years now, which is a little bit unusual, especially in our retail business, especially in a furniture business. That's a whole other subject, but the furniture industry is extremely slow to adopt anything. And it's a very old business, and our business has always grown very slowly and very organically, and I think that means that we're well suited for having that sort of principle in approaching social media as well. The main thing with regards to social media is about asking the right questions, engaging the right people, talking to the right people in the right ways. The things that work for us that have kind of an immediate engagement effect, are when we ask questions, when we bring our tribe gets involved. The most important thing that we have discovered when it comes to doing any form of social media is finding the right people to do it with. For better or for worse, I'm sure there's plenty of people in this room that are not ever going to be our customers. We are focused a little bit on a particular segment of the furniture buying population or the gift buying population, and our aesthetic is not everybody's. And finding the right tribe for us has always been an important aspect of that. Finding people who share similar interests, who share similar design and aesthetic interests, or share interests in design as a whole. We focus a lot on these days. One of my biggest focuses on online and on social media is on designers themselves, interior designers, architects, those sorts of people. They're the ones who really gravitate towards what we do, and they're also, as it would have it, the ones very much interested in using social media and doing it very well. It's a good group out there. So that's been a big aspect of it. I think that tribes are essential, and you have to find the right ones. It's just you don't want to be talking to the void is what it comes down to. There are certainly things that can create an immediate effect, and these are the sort of measurable campaign type things that people always want. I'm not huge into these, I have to be honest, because for me it is about building long-standing relationships, about carrying people forward into the distant future, if you will, the same way that we deal with people in our stores, quite frankly. It's not about getting somebody to buy something right here and now. It's about creating a lifelong customer. And I feel that the same thing is happening online, and I feel that that's the only valuable thing that's happening online. I've used Facebook ads to drive traffic for an immediate effect, but I like Facebook ads that just remind our customers that we're here more than that. I know that coupons and using Groupon and driving that rush of traffic because you're having a huge sale, it can be an important aspect, and it certainly can be a cash flow generator to some effect, but it's not in the end what our goal is with social media. That serves the same purpose as putting an ad in the newspaper that I've got a sale on this recliner for $300 off, come in and get it today. Might be an aspect of what we're doing, might be part of our advertising methods, if you will, but if I can be so blunt, I don't use social media for advertising. So it's not an essential part of what I'm doing there. Because in the end, I think that I'm trying to build relationships. I'm trying to create a brand that has an awareness to it, certainly, but also has a certain amount of trust and respect within our industry, within our tribes, within what we're trying to do. A recognition of who we are and what we do is much more important to us than that kind of immediate gratification thing. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who are trying to, suggest or say that they can get that, And I've seen, good responses to particular methods to do so, but the relationships are not necessarily being formed. I don't need 5,000 followers on Facebook today. I need every follower on Facebook to be somebody who actually cares about our business. That's much, much more important to me. Things that don't work. I see a lot of examples of these. I hope, some of them I did early on and learned not to, and some of them I still see today as I struggle to get friends, family, business associates, vendors especially, to use social media and use it well. I see a lot of these mistakes happening all the time, and I'm constantly, critiquing people for it. The biggest, baddest mistake I see probably is not responding to people. It boggles my mind why anybody would create a Facebook page and then let people post things on it and ask questions on there and not answer them, and just let it sit there forever. Dangling question. And some of these questions can be very, very simple. Where can I buy your products? That would be a good question to answer, I think. I think that would be a very good question to answer, because it sounds like that person might want to buy your products. You should tell them. You should tell them how. You should not make it hard. Not engaging as well as not listening. So, and probably the first and foremost thing I feel whenever we, anytime we've dived into any particular aspect or app within social media or whatever, it's all about listening and trying to figure it out first, because there are people who were there before you. They're doing certain things. You have to learn the culture of it. So listening is super important, and I spend a lot more time listening and observing, because they're kind of the same thing, and obviously most of it's text, so it's observing, but then I do actually engaging. But the engaging is just as important and comes second to that. Once, quite frankly, I feel comfortable, feel like I understand how it works, feel like I understand how the people want to use this particular media. If I had to say anything, that would, it would be about the listening, though, because that's the first step. And every retailer I've ever talked to is like, well, how do I even start doing this? Well, you have to start by just watching. Just get on there, observe it, create an account, pay attention, see what's going on. That's the only way to do it. The other thing that does not work is trying to get followers. And that's, I know everybody wants to, but it goes back to the whole numbers thing. I don't think that shouldn't be what you're there for, quite frankly. The numbers game is not where it's at. The trying to get followers aspect that you see a lot of people jump into social media and figure that's the goal, and it's the hugest mistake. And I did make that mistake in the very beginning, and I have very much changed my philosophy away from that, because what do I need thousands of followers who could care less about what we do? I don't need them. That's not what we're trying to do there. Automating things would be my biggest pet peeve. That means automating tweets. That means automating, the connections between social media. Like, if anybody says anything about you, it goes up onto a website. Or if anybody, if you put out an email, it not only is an email, the same thing as your blog post, the same thing as your Facebook post. It goes into Twitter immediately. All of these things can be automated, and there's lots of equipment and lots of applications to do all of this automation. I can set up, hundreds of tweets to be repeated periodically throughout the day for the next couple of weeks, and I see those accounts doing that, and I don't think they get anything from it. I have to be honest. There's not a whole lot of return on that, because people ignore the automation. When they see you being just a robot, that's all you are, and they turn you off, they shut you down, they stop following you, or they just ignore it as it scrolls past in their tweet stream. I'll touch briefly on ROI, because I know it's everybody's favorite subject, especially business people. When I talk to other retailers, it's all about, well, where's the ROI in this? Where's, how do I get people to actually make sales. And I will say, I've made sales on social media, but that's not what it's about. I'm not there to make sales. And they don't quite, nobody quite gets that, and that's where, quite frankly, listening comes in, because you don't get it until you're doing it for a while. But it is an essential part of the understanding of the way that this works. There's Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'm sure some of you know, the wine guy, the wine library guy. He has my favorite response to the ROI question, and he mentioned it in some presentation. And it's, I don't know, what's the ROI of your mother? And the reason I like that quote is because it makes sense. If you could, what would you rather have walk through your door as a retail business? A complete stranger, an acquaintance, a friend, a relative, assuming they're all looking for furniture, right? Well, the higher you get up the chain there, the better the relationship you have with that person, the more likely, quite frankly, they are to buy something from you. My mother does buy furniture from me because she figures that's easier than going to somebody she doesn't know, right? I think that it just makes sense to think of it in those terms rather than worrying, quite frankly, about the return on your investment. Time is money, and my investment is mostly time, but I'm more focused on gaining that relationship, which is a long-term investment. It's also a long-term return. The dialogues that we do have on there on places like Facebook, places like Twitter can be an essential element. These are no different than engaging people in dialogue in the store, which it's in fact just an extension of our business in store. And I think that's a really, really important thing to remember. If I was having, if somebody walks in the store, or I'm having brunch with somebody or what have you, to immediately say, hey, did you know we have this? We've all been there, though there are stores that do that, but that's not our business model. And in the end, nobody really wants to be bombarded with ads at every moment of an interaction with a person. If they're going to form a relationship, it's not going to be because you sent them a bunch of ads. First thing, as soon as you meet them, to bombard them with sale prices and we've got this deal going on, never forms relationships. It can sometimes form a sale, but that's a very short-lived effect. It's not a long-term effect. Things like Facebook ads where you actually are spending money, click to buy, or the sort of, like a Google AdWords campaign and those sorts of things. These are things you actually can spend money on. The good news is it doesn't cost a lot of money. If you target very well, you can actually create an effect without spending a lot of money, without actually needing to worry about the ROI of it. Facebook is a good example of that. We do very local targeting and show, they create a presence on that draws people's attention without actually requiring a great deal of click-through. It's the opposite of the immediacy of the, go get them, make a call to action sort of ad. I've done those too, and they can be very effective, but I think the mix is actually what works better in the long term. If, as of right now, if one of you saw our Facebook ad and it just is a reminder ad, it's just that, we're here, we've been making Madison modern for more than 60 years, and you happen to be in a mode right at that moment when you're looking for furniture, this is just a top-of-mind presence ad. This is an image ad, and most of our advertising has always been that way. The cool thing about that ad is I didn't pay a thing for it if you didn't click on it. So, I mean, it goes counter to what people talk about as far as ROI, because how many click-throughs did I get through? How many click-throughs? Well, maybe it's not always about that, is perhaps my humble opinion, but it is nonetheless. The analytics from these things can be studied in depth, and I know Lance is going to go into that a little bit more, so I really won't touch on it much. But the good news is that it can be a very good effect from all of this. And you can recognize and see that it drives traffic. So social media in general, it's about creating fun, it's about getting your culture out there. The reasons that we tend to do this, people are busy, they're not necessarily shopping every day of their lives anymore. People don't necessarily spend a day or a weekend and say, let's go shopping this weekend for a new couch. You have to find the customers where they are. That's what retail is all about. I have retail friends who say, well, retail's, been the same, it's always going to be the same. No, it's not. It's changed so dramatically in recent times, and just in the last 4 years, it has changed so dramatically. You have to know where your customers are. You have to know how to talk to them. In today's economy, I don't think you have a choice. You have to do everything in your power. That's the position that we're in. The consumer actually has the power these days, and that's an important thing to remember. If you're not engaging, if you're not in there with them, well, they're still free to talk about you, and the only choice, in my opinion, is to be a part of that conversation. Wouldn't it be great if you could overhear every, restaurant conversation between friends as they talk about your store? Wouldn't that be great? Well, social media is pretty amazing in that with the right tools, you can be a part of many of those conversations that are being had these days about your business, about your brand. That's what's so amazing about it. This is effectively the same thing as word of mouth. It's exactly the same thing as word of mouth. Social media is just the same thing as meeting over the water cooler or at brunch or being introduced to somebody's friend. It's exactly the same thing, and you have to think of it as such. There are reasons to use social media for things, basic things like customer service, and we do, get these sorts of online requests occasionally. Where are you? What are your hours? What's going on this weekend? Do you have X? And being available to answer those questions is an important part of your customer service. The customer contact, I've had people say, I don't, why do you do Twitter? Why would I care what all these people had for breakfast? And my response to that is usually the same. I actually do care, because I feel like that is a really great insight into their lives. Our consumers are, if I can find out what they ate for breakfast and where they ate breakfast and how they eat breakfast and on what table and on the uncomfortable dining chairs that they would love to replace, boom. You've got uncomfortable dining chairs that you need to replace? We happen to carry dining chairs. This is just, and not that I'm going to jump in and sell it to them, that's not the point. But the point is, these are people's lives, and we're involved in a lifestyle business. We're hoping to get into people's homes, to get into their lives a little bit. Most people buy furniture for extremely emotional reasons. The furniture becomes extremely emotional when they buy it. Everybody knows nobody gives up their favorite recliner for decades past the point of when it should have been given up. And that's where we sit. That's where our business has the opportunity to talk to our customers. It's where we fit in. Observing the culture is an important part of what we're doing there, because we want to be a part of everybody's culture. We want to be a part of that world, because that's where our customers are. If you take the sheer numbers of people that are on Facebook, that are on Twitter, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're talking countries here. I mean, that type of population. The idea that you wouldn't go there and introduce yourself as a small business is just crazy, quite frankly, because where else are you going to have the opportunity to be involved with that many people? The other, some of the other reasons for social media is the cool factor, quite frankly, especially in the early days. Doing things like having a Facebook page when we started was actually young enough that it was like, what? Why would you do that? But there are definitely people who get it, and they're not necessarily young people. And therefore, they see you there, they see you, they recognize that you're capable, that you're kind of cool, that you're with it, that you understand. That can't be a bad thing. That can only be a good thing to have to be considered with it as a business, as a brand, is pretty powerful stuff. That's why we go after things maybe before they really need to be gone after, like QR codes and things like that. share your passion, share your inspiration. That's a huge part of it. It's a lot of what people are doing online. That's what we're there to do. I can talk all day about furniture, much better than I'm talking right now, because that is something that I actually have a passion for, and therefore I can talk to other people about that, and that's an important part of it. One quick side note that I think is really huge and really good, especially applies to retail businesses. The business-to-business aspect of social media is awesome. It's really just as powerful as the business-to-consumer relationships. If I can get, and I spend a lot of time trying to do this, connected through social media to all of our vendors, for example, not only do vendors have the opportunity to reach out to me and make me a more respected customer and therefore want to deal with them more, want to buy from them more, but I also have that opportunity to share with them experiences that I've had, experiences other people are having online around me. And this is a powerful tool for them, it's a powerful tool for me, and the coolest part about it, it's all forward-facing. That's the thing that, especially when it comes to Twitter, and I am a big proponent of Twitter, not a lot of businesses are using it or using it well. In fact, most, I would say, are using it very, very poorly. But Twitter can be hugely beneficial in this way. When you're having a conversation with somebody, there could be many, many, many people observing that conversation. And that gives credibility. When I'm talking to a vendor about a particular product, that product is in the limelight. Other people are seeing that. They want to know more. What's going on? What are you talking about? Who are these people? Oh, you sell their product? That's so cool. You're both cool. And now we want to get involved. It is powerful that customers have the opportunity to see that. And it's an important aspect to remember about social media. And again, if I could, as much as I am doing this for business purposes, I am doing this to have an end result, to increase our profits, I guess. That is the goal. We're in business to make profits. Selling is low on the totem pole. Selling on social media is very low on the totem pole. I would much rather have somebody think that it's really awesome that I just promoted somebody else's website or somebody else's blog than have them think that I was just trying to sell them something. Because I'm not. That's, selling is very personal, and you have that opportunity. When you're my best friend, you're more than likely going to buy furniture from me. That's hopefully, that's at least part of the goal.